Hello, everyone. This is going to be a continuation of how to unstick your affiliate site or how to boost your rankings now. If you missed part 1, I will link it in this video so that you can check it out. Before I get started, as always, I wanted to remind you we have a Facebook community called SEO Algo Secrets. If you're active on Facebook, be sure to join. It's how we are able to communicate a little bit easier than we are on YouTube. All right, I had a really good question on YouTube that said, hey, aren't you talking about keyword density? And everyone else says keyword density is dead. So let's dive into, yes, this is keyword density, and then let me explain why I'm talking about it. Now, online, people can get a little bit crazy. And when I talk about keyword density, I'll have a few people speak up and say, oh, you're crazy. I never want to hear from you again. You can't talk about keyword density because keyword density is dead or it's just no longer working. And honestly, that's not really the case. So let me tell you first what perspective I'm coming from. I work on a lot of sites that have been stuck in rankings. Sometimes they're stuck for a year, sometimes they're stuck for 6 months. Whatever the case, they're stuck and they're not ranking. My job is to come in and to discover why the site's no longer ranking. So when I give you tips and tricks, most of the time it's because it's what's sticking sites currently. I work on hundreds of sites and I work on a lot of the hardest cases. So my viewpoint might be different from someone else who doesn't work on the hardest cases, and maybe they're working on different types of cases. So yes, let's talk about keyword density. It's funny that keyword density is almost a bad word in SEO right now. When I started in SEO, it was all about keyword density. So it's funny how fads come and go, terminology comes and goes, but honestly, I'm really just interested in what ranks a site right now. And what ranks a site today could be totally different from what I'm talking about a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It changes, and we either change with it or we get left behind. All right, so I wanted to take this a step further. These are the 3 sites that are ranking for best fishing canoes. They're currently ranking 1st, 2nd, and 3rd position. And what I was asking you to do was check to see how many times they said fishing canoes, how many times did they say best fishing canoes, and so on. And what my point is you don't want to be an outlier. And let me dial that in a little bit further. You don't want to be an outlier with under optimization or over optimization or overuse of certain terms. So I went and found an old school Chrome extension that looks at keyword density. Now, when I first got started, we looked at keyword density all of the time, but now we have a lot of different tools. And these types of tools are used seldomly now, I think, unless you don't have a lot of money for a lot of the more expensive tools, then these tools are still usable. They're still valid. You can still use them. So what I was asking you to do is look to see how many times 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place said fishing canoes. This is a tool. It's called Measure SEO Keyword Density. And I can look at how many times they said one word. I can look at how many times they said 2 words. I can look at how many times they said 3 words. So if I wanted to look at how many times they said fishing canoes, they said it 46 times. Let's take a look at the second site. How many times did they say fishing canoes? They said it 12 times. And then we can look at the third site. How many did they say fishing canoes? And they said it 12 times. Now, look at when we pull up the words fishing canoes, they said it 12 times. This one said it more than the rest, I think. Fishing canoes and fishing canoe. So you've got 46 fishing canoes, 16 fishing canoe. This is all keyword density. And what I'm asking you to do is not be an outlier either way, either under optimized or over optimized, or underusing the words or overusing the words. And yes, that is actually keyword density. So what I'm asking you is, if the first place is saying fishing canoes or fishing canoe, whichever one you're trying to check into, 16 times, 46 times, I don't want your site to come in and say it 96 times, because that's an outlier. You're way outside of the box. And if they said it fishing canoes 16 times, I don't want you to come in and say it only 2 times if everyone's saying it 16, 20 times. So saying it 2 times, you're an outlier the other way. It's underused. You can be underused or you can be overused with keywords and get your site into trouble, or what we call stuck and just not moving in rankings, even though you're doing everything correctly. So measure SEO keyword density. This is a free tool. It doesn't cost anything, and it lets you look real quick at total word count. That one's at 2,400. This one is at 2,500. So they're kind of around the same. 3,500. This one has 1,000 more words than they do. And then you can look at 2-word combinations, 3-word combinations, because another one is best fishing canoes. That would also be important to kind of take a look at to see if they said it and how many times did they say it. And then you can even export this to CVS if you wanted to, so that maybe you're looking at more words than just fishing canoes. A lot of times I'll look to see how many times did they say rod holders, because it's at the top. And a lot of times I will shift rod holders underneath the most important word. So yes, we still look at keyword density. We're just looking at it in a different light. And let me digress. Back in the days when keyword density was a really big thing, our whole article focused on keyword density. So I knew if keyword density is at 1% or 2% and someone repeated the word 13 times, my main goal was that 2% of keyword density. However, that's not the case anymore. That's not the main goal. Now we're looking more at entities, topical authority. We're looking at different avenues, and we're developing those first. Now, I come in here and look at keyword density. Why is that? Because I work with hard cases. I work with stuck sites. I work with sites that just can't get into first position no matter what they do. And often it's not one thing, remember, that sticks a site, but it can be multiple things that stick a site. Now, some sites will come in here and adjust keyword density and we're done. Like that's the end of the day. They get to first position and that's all it needed. It just had that one thing. But most sites have many things that are going on with it. So that's why I said in the next video, I'll talk about something else that sticks sites or keeps them lower in rankings. So if you're competing against these guys, you're going to want to pay attention to if you're an outlier and underusing a word in combination of words, or overusing the word in a combination of words. And something else to pay attention to is the 2023. How many times did they say that word? So I did a really quick search and find. They said 2023 6 times. This one was in second position. How many times did they say it? They said it twice. So my point is, you don't want to be well under them. You don't want to say it 0 times, and you don't want to say it more than what they're saying it. You want to be in the area that they're in. Is the best way that I can describe it. You want to be inside the optimization box that they're in, not too far under and not too far over. And you're looking at best fishing canoes. I also want you to look at fishing canoes. And also, I didn't mention this in the last video, but also check out 2023. How many times did they say it? How many times did they say this in combination? And then how many times did they say it singularly? You also want to look at fishing, and you also want to look at canoes, because you just don't want to be that outlier that says it 100 times when they said it 20. And that sounds ridiculous, but it can really happen easily using some of the optimization tools that we currently use. It can easily be overused. So if you have a case of a site that's just not going up in rankings and you can't figure out why, this is one area that you want to check into, keyword density. The funny thing is when I talked about it in my last video, I didn't even want to call it keyword density because I knew people have an aversion to the actual term. So if that's you and you have an aversion to certain terms, I'm probably not the person for you. Because at the end of the day, what I'm discussing is what currently works, what I'm currently putting onto websites, what I'm currently checking, and what is currently working. I don't know how else I can say it. All right, I just wanted to do that follow-up because I didn't want anyone confused. Yes, we're talking about keyword density, and I'm okay with it. See you guys in the next video.